Hello and welcome back to Kinky History, the podcast where we discuss all of the dirty little secrets they probably left out of your history books. Now, one thing about history that I find very interesting is that we've always lived on the same beautiful planet. No matter the different societies we've lived in, the different times we've lived in, we've all shared the same love of nature, human connection, and a view of the beautiful solar system. So whether you are charting your astrology sign, whether you're using your big old telescope like Galileo, or maybe you're just enjoying a nice little route under the stars, the stars and the planets and this galaxy have always played an important role in our love life. And in fact, they have their own very kinky history. And who better to discuss that today than Australia and the internet's resident space expert, Kirsten Banks. I am so excited to have you here, Kirsten.
Hi.
Kirsten is a PhD in astrophysicist. She is an internet sensation. She is a science sweetheart. The list goes on. Also, TEDx extraordinaire. I'm still getting over what a fantastic talk that you gave. Kirsten, thank you for being here.
I'm excited. And I'll be honest, a little nervous.
Little nervous? Did I make you horny, baby? Now, Kirsten, we met like back in 2021. Is that correct?
Gosh, was it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. End of 2021.
End of 2021, and it was at this TikTok end of year event, and out of the list of people, stars, one might say, that I was so excited to meet, you were top of the list because we'd had such a beautiful connection and communication prior to this, just online, just kind of, hyping one another up as academic women on the internet. And then as soon as I met you, we just kind of, a planetary alignment, we just gravitated to one another. I'm just going to
speak my language, gal.
I know very little about how space works, so I'm really going to be testing my euphemisms today. But very much gravitated to one another because you just have this absolutely beautiful glow and soul about you, and now you're one of my best friends. So, hi.
I love it. Hi. Thank you for dragging me along the podcast. No, I'm kidding. I jumped at this. I'm so excited to do this.
I think it's really interesting as well because kinky history and space aren't two things.
People think they're worlds apart, but we have
literally
proven, people have proven time and time, or we have proven time and time again that they kind of go hand in hand.
Very surprisingly.
Very surprisingly. Like there are some kinky scientists out there from history as well. And just some weird stories too.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I don't feel like you can stay in a lab very long without being a bit kinky. Like, that's a long-term fixation. You've got to know how to, like, keep yourself amused.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, if you think... so this is what it's like as an astronomer, where I have to stay up all night to look at the stars.
Hey.
But the room that I'm in, it's not like being outside and like, oh, pretty stars. Pretty. No, we are in a windowless room for hours.
No.
With like 8 computer screens, which all of them are so important. You need to look at the instrument and what it's doing, the telescope and what it's doing, the clouds, if they're coming in to ruin the day, we've got to make sure we keep an eye on them.
That's got to be so annoying.
But it's like a dungeon.
Wow.
And
like a kinky dungeon.
It could very well be a kinky dungeon.
Do you want me to decorate your astronomy center?
Oh, please. That would be so funny. The next time someone like logs on and sees the room, like, what has gone on here?
Hey, babe, so why exactly do we have that spanking horse at the back? Like, I'm not too sure that we need to be chained to the wall to watch the stars.
Like, it's to keep us awake during the night. If I got a slap every now and then during the night, I would stay up a lot easier.
Revolutionizing the astronomy way of being. This is wonderful. But the first time we tried to kind of put our very different academic minds together, TikTok approached us to try and do like a collaboration and come together as two of their resident PhD teachers on TikTok.
Just all dynamite gals.
Yeah. That old thing, that little powerhouse. And I remember I was just having this call at the first, being like, what on earth do we talk about?
Yeah.
And then that's how Kinky Space Facts was kind of born.
Yeah. An idea just popped into our heads like, you know what? let's roll with it. Let's go.
Let's go. Because it seems to be like, while, this entire podcast is about the fact that humans have always been very, very kinky, humans have also always been into trying to understand the worlds and the stars and everything far beyond us. Even before we understood that there was another planet other than ours.
Absolutely.
We've always been looking to the stars, especially for guidance. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's your PhD. You're looking at stars that are billions of years old, millions of years old.
Yeah, billions to millions of years old, depending on how massive they are. Live fast, die young. Massive stars do it well. That's the way it goes.
Please tell me that's the title of your thesis.
I have definitely slid that into some of my abstracts.
Great.
But we've been, as a human race, we've been so enthralled with the night sky for millennia.
Yeah.
I love it so much for many, many reasons, but one in particular is that it's so accessible. You just go outside and look up.
Yeah.
It's there.
It's there.
All around us.
Apart from when you have light pollution.
Yeah,
and you
those
can't quite
bloody
see
clouds.
it. Yeah, the bloody clouds. God damn it. But I think I'm a historian, and the stuff I work with is 250 years old for most of the time. Yeah, literally. And I remember I was talking about our theses for the first time, and I'm like, okay, you are working with light history. Mm-hmm. Billions of years old. We're talking pre-dinosaurs, right? Those T-Rexes are not even there.
Dinosaurs are so young compared to the histories that I'm looking at. I am trying to figure out the history of our galaxy.
Great.
And our galaxy, do you want to take a guess on how old it is?
I'm scared now.
This can go either one or two ways. I'll say an age that's way too young or an age that's ridiculously too old.
11 billion.
You're actually really close.
Really?
13.1 billion years old.
Get out. Okay, so close. I'm going to give that to me.
That's great. Yeah. You were in an order of magnitude. You are an astronomer.
Thank you. Do I get a degree now?
Yes.
You will now be officially the oldest history we've discussed on this podcast, because when we had Miles from the TikTok 10 on, we did go to prehistoric dinosaur kinky history, which was wonderful. He told me that there is something called a scrotum humungus. Yeah, that was my reaction as well. Which apparently is a dinosaur fossil that we have. And it's not, sadly, of the balls of a dinosaur.
Aww.
It's the start of his leg bone, but it does look like a pair of balls.
Oh, excellent.
And that's how that dinosaur was remembered. And I thought that was the oldest piece of history we're going to have on the show. Alas.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Here you are, Kirsten.
13.1 billion years.
13.1 billion
and
years.
That's what I'm trying to do with my thesis. Piece together 13.1 billion years of history.
That sounds
figure
easy.
out why the heck are we here.
You can do that in a 3-year thesis, can't you?
I'm attempting to.
Great. Now, I want to pick your brain. Tell me some kinky space facts to do with our galaxy.
All right. So, I think the best way to go here is going back to ancient Greece.
That's literally how I think we start every single podcast episode. I'm like, it doesn't matter what the topic is. I'm like, we're going to need to talk about ancient Greece, and then 100%. We can carry on from here. So I'm glad that you said that line this time. Yeah. It makes a change.
I got you, gal.
Going back to ancient Greece.
But it's a history of why we actually call the Milky Way the Milky Way.
I knew it was going to be good.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the Milky Way, a river of milk.
Nummy.
Why?
Well, not good if you're lactose intolerant.
Not
besides that.
Okay, skim. No, not skim. That still has lactose. Lactose-free milk.
Great.
Yeah.
The lactose-free Milky Way.
So, the Milky Way. Way of milk, right?
The way of milk.
The way of milk. The reason why we call it the Milky Way is because the ancient Greek gods, Zeus had a son with a mortal woman, Heracles.
Yes.
Zeus wanted to make that mortal son immortal. How did he want to do that? With his sleeping wife, Hera, he took the baby to her bosom to suckle at the milk of Hera. Of which, yikes, first of all.
I will make this child royal.
Yeah.
Does she know? Does she know?
She's asleep.
Oh, she's asleep.
She's
it's like
asleep.
a sleep and beauty situation here with Hera. Okay.
But a little below the belt. Well above the belt, but below the mouth.
Below the mammoth.
Yeah. So Zeus takes this, and this is one variation of the story, but Zeus takes Heracles to suckle at the bosom of a sleeping Hera. She wakes up. What the heck is a baby doing on my boob? swats a baby away, and milk spurts out from her bosom to then create the Milky Way galaxy as we know it.
That is
what?
so good.
What?
So are you telling me that beautiful thing of stars we see is someone's booby juice?
Yes.
It's the booby juice way.
Not even just someone's booby juice. A Greek goddess's booby juice.
That is Hera's booby juice. That's wonderful. I'm loving that Hera is just like capable of breastfeeding on demand. Like that's a skill. Good on you,
Even
Hera.
while sleeping. I was like, whew.
Yeah, just pumping it out. She's working overtime. That is so interesting because I feel like so many people, I know I've questioned why the Milky Way is called the Milky Way. But then, I mean, that would come from like the actual Greek term for milk and everything as well. That would have just like literally translated over time. Love that. I love that Zeus and Hera just seem to be at like the center of so much Greek kinky mythology. Like the two of them, I mean, Zeus gets around.
Oh, yeah.
Zeus absolutely gets around. I was once doing this like vox pop at this theatre, and it was for a show called Oracle, and it was all about, you know, the stories of the star signs, and it was presented by burlesque performers and circus performers, and it was just like a horny, beautiful
That sounds great.
thing. Yeah, honestly, it was so good. And I was doing the vox pop, and I just kind of quizzed people, and I was like, how many lovers do you think that Zeus had? And one person just turned around, didn't miss a beat, and was just like, beyond the recommended amount. And I was like, that is probably the best possible answer. The limit does not exist. Like, this god was getting around. He was setting himself into dolphins, lions, tigers, oh my, to fuck people. Like, mortals, humans, gods, it just didn't matter. Like, Zeus was just going for it. But I brought you a kinky space thing.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, and just coincidentally with your entire Milky Way thing, it's got Zeus and Hera in it.
Oh,
So, but it's about, okay, I know star signs aren't your thing, and everyone gets continually confused between astrophysics and astronomy.
I mean, they're beautiful constellations in the sky. They have nothing to do with our personalities or our day-to-day lives, except they're pretty.
Can you give us like a bit of a definitional difference between astronomy and astrophysics?
Perfectly can. Astrology, not science. Astronomy, science. Done.
That was so concise.
I have done this a lot.
We're going to talk about Ganymede.
That is one of Jupiter's moons.
Ah.
And because I think, actually, all of the planets in the solar system are named after Roman gods, and Jupiter is the equivalent of Zeus in Roman mythology.
Love that.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
But fun fact about Jupiter is all its moons are named after his concubines. So I'm going to guess here that this story of Zeus and Ganymede is that they get it on somehow.
It is about concubines. That was a really wonderful, scientifically documented guess. Kind of hate you for that, kind of love you. Ruin my story, why don't you?
I have more kinky facts in me than you realise.
I know. I'm just loving that like Jupiter's getting around with all its concubines, like a little. So Ganymede, who is this handsome, absolutely gorgeous prince from Troy, and everyone's just like, you're beautiful, we love you. Like OG kind of fuckboy is what I'm thinking here, but like pretty, knows he's pretty kind of vibe, right? And so he was so beautiful that everyone fell in love with him, like men, women, everyone is in love with Ganymede. But because he's a prince and he was so physically attractive, no one wanted to actually make a move. They're like, he's out of our league. Like, oh my God, I'm not going to do it. Apart from Zeus, who is like big dick energy.
Mm-hmm. Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Yeah.
That big Daddy. He like his bed notch count is out of the roof. Like he's like
The bed head is gone now. There's too many notches.
Yeah, they've done a Twilight, Edward and Bella, and fuck that bed into oblivion. Like it doesn't exist anymore. And so he is like, I see it, I want it. And so Zeus, takes Ganymede and she's like, you know what, you're coming with me back to Olympus and you're going to be my cupbearer and my lover. Ooh. Yes, because that's like the natural two things that you do. You're just like, hey, babe, do you want a drink? No, I want your ass. Like that's how that works.
There's no in between. Just
You got to hydrate sometimes in the middle, so, it's a little bit hard. But the thing is that Zeus is still married to Hera in the middle of fucking everyone and making her spill out her breast juice over the galaxy.
Yep.
He is still married to Hera. And so in the middle of falling absolutely desperately in love with Ganymede, Hera's like, no, we're not just going to have this guy in our bedroom all the time. It's not. And like the wrath of Hera just comes down on Ganymede and she goes full dominatrix. Now, when I saw this production of Oracle with the burlesque performers, there's this fantastic Australian non-binary burlesque performer called Betty Bombshell, and they depicted Hera in this moment as a full dominatrix with just like whips going and fire going all over, and I was like, I was feeling things. Like, I was feeling things, and I had to interview them after the show, and I was basically like, oh, like, how was it? And they were just like, well, how did you feel, babe? And I was like, I'm so gay. Absolutely wonderful. But then, because Hera's like, you know what, you gotta go, boy. Ganymede also becomes this fighter and is like, you know what, Zeus, you've got me here. You've made me fuck you. I've had to deal with your wife. As a result, I want you to bring rain down on the earth and actually heal the fact that everyone's in a massive drought right now. And Zeus is like, fair enough. I will satisfy my lover and my wife. It rains and Ganymede is immortalized as the star sign Aquarius.
Oh, the water bearer. He's got the cups.
Yes!
That's kind of sweet though.
The concubine of Zeus.
That's so cute.
Yeah. What's the star sign for Aquarius? Is it a fish? One fish, two cups.
Oh, that's Pisces. So Pisces is the fish, but yeah, the water bearer is like the person and it's got the water.
Love that. That's my kinky star fact for you.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It reminds me more about Jupiter, actually. So
everything comes back to Jupiter. Do you have a Jupiter obsession?
I love Jupiter. Okay, so I love Jupiter, and this brings me back again. So the moons are the concubines, right? Yeah. Jupiter's a big gassy boy. So
Jupiter is the James Joyce of the planets, attracting its lovers with its farts. I'm getting it. I understand. There's the galaxy. Sign me up.
But yes, so Jupiter, it's big gassy boy, has 92 moons.
God, I can't imagine having 92 people on the go at a time. I can't remember that many names.
It seems so stressful. But the funniest part about this is that NASA sent a probe to Jupiter.
It sounds like Jupiter was already being probed.
With the 92 concubines. Yeah. There is no way I could have unscientifically said that without saying probe. Anyway, so they sent a probe to Jupiter. But guess what? They named it Juno, which is the Roman equivalent of Hera. So they sent his wife to check on him and his concubines.
Stop it! Even now, the ancient Greek drama continues. The gossip doesn't end here. Oh my gosh. I love that. Well, do you know what? Speaking about gossip, that reminds me of an incredible fact that you have just told me before we got into this podcast studio about gossip. Because, I'm a massive gossip. Like, you know me.
I love gossip.
Over a bottle of bubbly, like, we are chatting everything. But apparently that makes me, an evolutionary being. I'm a higher being because of it.
Apparently. And I got told this by one of the other Astro PhD students at my university. Just over the lunch table. Just classic gossip.
I love that.
Yeah.
You don't gossip. You, philosophize about gossip.
Yes, we deliberate over very important things.
Fantastic.
Across the lunch table. But no, there's one time he comes out and he's like, we evolved, like the Homo sapiens evolved from the people who were before that or the beings that were before that because we loved to gossip. So essentially we're just like, yeah, that dude has a big forehead. Evolution happens. Now we're here.
So basically because we started being very gossip girl-esque, very territorial, and we're like, no, we're better than that lot.
Yeah.
That's why we've evolved.
Apparently so.
Do you know what is really funny about Homo sapiens? I saw this fantastic TikTok the other day, and it was about someone telling their partner that their friend had come out as a Homo sapien, and they were just freaking out. And they're like, does their family know? Does their girlfriend know he's a Homo sapien? So just a clarification, Homo sapien, not a homosexual.
No. Homosexuals are Homo sapiens, not all Homo sapiens are homosexuals. And that's fine.
But we have chatted the ancient Greek gossip of the stars. Does the astrophysics community get a little bit kinky at times? Is there any kinky gossip stories that we can really pull out of the modern day science world at all?
Oh, 100%. And
Tell me everything. Gossip ears are ready.
We are ready. So a scientist that I'm sure many people who are within the physics realm would know.
Obviously
little
me.
Stephen Hawking.
Oh, wait, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Black hole dude.
Yeah, theory of everything. I cried my eyes out through that film, so.
Such a beautiful film.
So good. Yeah. So good. And it was one of those films that you should have come in with a giant warning, though. You will bawl like a baby.
Yes. I was like, I'm ready for a nice fun lecture, just hold in a movie format. No.
Yeah. Crying.
The story is so sad. Anyway,
film.
so this isn't about Stephen Hawking being kinky.
Oh.
It's about another scientist by the name of Kip Thorne being a little kinky.
Yes, yep.
So, Kip Thorne, he's a black hole expert. He has a Nobel Prize in his work for black holes.
Love that.
So, we didn't know that black holes existed until some time ago, a few decades ago.
That's pretty recent.
It's pretty recent, right? You had Einstein, he predicted them. It's actually, they were predicted a few 100 years beforehand, maybe 100, I'm not sure. You're the historian, not me.
But I studied dildos, babe.
And where do those dildos go?
Yeah, give me one probe, not two.
No, so we know about black holes, but we hadn't found any yet.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a signal from within the galaxy that people thought, this could be a black hole. This could be the first black hole. How exciting.
Ooh.
And Kip Thorne and Stephen Hawking had a very famous bet on whether this signal was actually a black hole or not. So Kip Thorne was on the side of, yeah, definitely a black hole.
That's it.
That's it. Stephen Hawking, not too sure. Probably not a black hole. So they had a bet. What was the bet? If it was a black hole or not. What were the stakes?
I'm guessing it's not just an exchange of money here that we're
Absolutely
talking.
not. No. If Stephen Hawking were to win the bet, i.e. this signal was not a black hole,
Yeah.
then Kip Thorne would have to buy a subscription to a very intellectual magazine for Stephen Hawking. Very beautiful. If Kip Thorne won, whereas the signal was a black hole, Stephen Hawking would have to buy a subscription to Penthouse magazine for Kip Thorne.
Is the Penthouse subscription, does it have to be under Stephen Hawking's name, though?
I think so.
I'm just imagining, Stephen Hawking's having to send this email, hey, you might know me.
I would like a subscription, please, but not for me. It's actually for my friend.
It's a friend. It's that's actually where the line came from. It's not for me, it's for my friend.
Yeah.
It's a bet, I swear.
But
so
yes,
who won?
Kip Thorne won. It was indeed a black hole. Cygnus X1 was indeed a black hole. And so he got a subscription paid for by Stephen Hawking to Penthouse magazine.
I really want to know that end of the phone call. I know, I'm sure the Penthouse people have to deal with people making awkward subscription calls all of the time, but it's just so good coming from such a prolific academic figure.
And not to mention the robotic voice that it would have come
Oh my
through
God,
for
I didn't think about
his
that.
voice.
They probably thought it was a prank call. That is wonderful. That is really wonderful. Well, speaking about black holes, I did ask, listeners of the podcast and followers on Instagram to submit some questions for you.
Oh, no.
Some of them were less serious than others, which includes my favourite one, where someone has just flat out asked, can you bleach a black hole?
Well, look, you can definitely send bleach to a black hole, but you're never getting that bleach back.
It's not like an anal bleaching
No.
scenario. One of them, which I think is great to talk about because this still makes me laugh, and I have a quote here from it. Tell me, what comes to mind when I say 100 tampons?
100 tampons! NASA, what are you thinking? Okay, so
tell me the story. Tell me the
this
story.
wonderful female astronaut,
Sally
Ride. She was the first American female astronaut to go to the International Space Station for a week. Her mission was for a week. And NASA's like, women do be perioding. Do you think 100 tampons should be enough for a week? I mean, realistically, yeah, it is more than enough. But my goodness, 100 tampons for a bloody week. Oh, well, a very bloody week, apparently.
Really bloody week, really. There was a quote that came from someone who was writing a profile about Sally Ride. This comes from Anne Friedman, and she said, "In preparation for Ride's trip aboard the space shuttle, tampons were packed with their strings connecting them like a strip of sausages so that they wouldn't float away. Engineers asked Ride, is 100 the right number? She would be in space, of course, for a week. That would not be the right number, she told them. Apparently, the male engineers then replied that they just wanted to be safe."
Look, their heart was in it. They were being very sweet, but my goodness, did they reveal that they do not have girlfriends.
Just no idea how the female reproductive system works whatsoever. I'm just imagining that they would have had to have like an entire space room in the shuttle just dedicated to these tampons just sneaking around. Can you imagine like trying to have a conversation at the start of the shuffle and all of a sudden this tampon snake's like, "So sorry, just coming past."
When you said they were tied together, I thought it was like tied together at the bottom like a tampon bouquet.
Yeah. Surprise! No, they are tight. Like, also, why get them out of their packages? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why? That wasn't necessary.
No,
that wasn't necessary.
They come in a little box.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
Do you know what? One big difference between Australia and the UK is the tampons, though. And this terrified me when I went back to England, like, after, I'd become a woman. That rather than the ones here, where you just kind of get them, the little small things, and you just kind of like shove them in. Like you just put your finger in, shove it in.
Straight up.
In England, they come with like almost like gun attachments to them. So they look massive. They look like the size of a pen. And you like pull the string and it like pops into you. And the idea is that you don't have to then get your finger inside your vagina.
Oh, because the worst thing in the world.
Oh, yeah, disgusting, foul. I would never do that on a daily basis. But I think that's a very interesting cultural difference. Just in England, we're just like, no, I couldn't do that. I couldn't touch myself. When I think about it, I touch myself. I have more questions for you. Some of them are a bit more intellectual than can you bleach a black hole, but I thought that was absolutely so funny. This one, I'm just interested in your answer for this. Do you think that space sex is an issue that needs to be solved, or is it just not worth addressing? I am assuming they're talking about the fact that astronauts who can go away for many, many years can't really copulate. Do we know? Do they fuck on the space shuttle?
See, now NASA has to disclose all information that comes from
literally
space. All information must be disclosed because it's a public agency. So every single photo we get, every single bit of information we get, it's disclosed. It's public information.
Right.
And there hasn't been any public information of the sort.
Space sex. That's like not the 100 Mile Club. That's like that's 1 billion mile club.
Actually, hold on. No. Space. This is actually kind of funny. Science brain is happening now. Space technically is 100 kilometers above the Earth.
Okay.
100 miles is further than that.
Wait. What's the Mile Club then? The 10 Mile Club? 100 Mile Club?
I'm sure it's called the 100 Mile Club. I'm just like,
High Flying Club? What is it? What's that thing?
Okay, well,
when you fuck on a plane, what you call it? Mile High Club. Thank God we have have our producer in the room just sitting there like, you fucking idiots, girls. Aren't you both meant to have PhDs soon? Like you. The Mile High Club, not the 100 Mile. So the 100 Mile Club can be the space sex.
Yeah, because then you're actually in space by then, by like international standards.
Kinky History, the podcast. We're solving the big issues that need addressing right here, right now.
So I think there was a report about a married couple going up into space and having sex, but it was disputed. It was misinformation.
Misinformation. No.
But here's a funny thing. So the missions to Mars, for example.
Yes.
A concern is that, male and female astronauts would have sex on the way over there. It's a 9-month mission to get to Mars.
It's like a staple human need.
Yeah, human physical contact. So they thought the best way to mitigate this is to have an all-female crew.
Right.
Because,
girl power.
No sex is going to happen on an all-female crew.
Yes, I remember the headlines when this happened, and it was like, NASA doesn't remember that lesbians exist.
Yeah. It's the 100 tampon thing again. You tried.
Yeah. I remember that I was heavily in the Facebook comment section on that, being like, if only you knew me and my desires at 14. But I also did read somewhere, I don't know if you have any more information about this. I remember reading that some space toilets did make like a wank safe space. But one of the problems was about like discharge floating. Because you don't other things go down into the toilet, and then this kind of went around. Do you know about space floating cum?
I have no information about space floating cum, but however, there is like the way men, and I'm not sure if it's similar for women as well, but space is a man's world. It's what we do.
Say it's a man's world.
But the way that men pee in space is like into a tube.
Tell me about that.
It's just into a tube.
So you can't wank into a tube.
Well, I feel like surely that would be the next obvious step, right?
Wank into a tube.
The tube's there, it will suction. Oh my.
Where does the cum go?
Oh, they do. Apparently they use that urine as like a recyclable water thing. So maybe...
So you've got to have a different tube for your cum. And then can you imagine how awkward it is when you go into the bathroom and be like, oh, don't worry, you can use the urine tube because I'm going to use the cum tube. Like... And you how planes just drop their stuff occasionally. Can you imagine just it's raining cum, hallelujah. It's the cum tube. Okay, so cum, put a pin in it. We don't know what happens. That needs investigation. If you want to do a postdoctorate, I need you to look into this. Fuck the billions of years old stars. I need to know about space cum. This was a really good one. How open, in your experience, is the astrophysics community to the LGBTQ community? I'm a gay and trans person who wants to become an astrophysicist.
Oh, yes. Join us. Join us. In my experience, it's been very welcoming.
That's so good.
I've had a very good experience. I mean, as a woman in a male-dominated field, I've had a very good experience. Feel very privileged.
We love this.
Which is awkward because it shouldn't be a privilege, it should be a right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know so many people who are on a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Join us. We have cookies.
One of us. Love it. I'm curious about this one. Aliens, if they existed, do you think they would have the same sexual drives as us? This is entirely a theoretical question. Do they have a sexual desire? Do they have kinks and fetishes? Or are they just procreation based?
Oh, well, every time we think about aliens, there's always a probe.
There's always a
probe.
That's the tagline of this podcast. There's always a probe.
Whether it's a sexual nature, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of the fun part of this question is speculation.
Speculation. What does your alien look like? Does your alien like to be whipped, Kirsten? Or are they very vanilla?
That's something between just astrophysicist and the alien.
They found the cum tube scenario, and that's how they procreate. I think it's in The Sims, you can make aliens fuck, and when they do, they like go off into the spaceship, and then there's like alien music, and then you just have this alien baby that arrives. But that's me playing too much Sims. The Sims, can we just point out, they were ahead of sex and the queer community before, you know, I could get my Sims married, my 2 girl Sims married before we could get married in Australia.
Yeah.
So good on the Sims, and they even had, you know, interspecies alien sex. So shout out Sims.
We love the Sims.
So, you know, on the topic of aliens, I want to know your opinion on like alien-based sex toys.
Can't say I have experienced any of them or seen. Please,
This
just,
is a
what does this look like?
Well, I mean, do you know what? I think this really caught on after Star Wars. There was a...
Of course it did.
Of course it did. Of course it did. There was such like a big outpouring of like alien-based lingerie and sex toys. You know, my producer has just reminded me about an alien kind of these gooey egg things. Some of them are weird, right? They're kind of like eggs that you can insert inside you, and they like birth. Like something almost comes out of them. Yeah, like it's really weird. It's like an alien baby. But this became a massive kink, and it's kind of related to like tentacle pornography, of this idea of like aliens birthing inside of you. Like it's a really popular pornographic category.
What would you? It seems almost like a parasitic sort of kink.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
It is really interesting. And like tentacle porn kind of caught on in the 19th century Japan because of censorship laws, right? And artists were banned from depicting genitals. So instead they're like, well, I was illustrating this story about a girl who dived under the water and, you know, gets killed by octopuses. And he's like the first one who kind of depicts all of Hokusai, who did the wave painting, depicts all of her body, you know, covered in squids who are literally sucking her off instead. But then it catches on because artists were like, oh, we can actually do this. We can use tentacles as censorship. And now, because we do that so often in anime and manga, tentacles have caught on. And I think that's now really related that when Star Wars came out, a lot of the way they got past all of the comic book illustrations that were quite highly sexual but still had to be accessible was this alien porn stuff. And then, you know, it brings us to, have you seen Sex Education?
Yeah.
The Netflix show? Yeah. That like beautiful moment at the end of the second season where they put on Romeo and Juliet, but it's an alien tentacle erotic fest. And like that's how popular this fetish is, that it can even be like depicted in this high school setting, because we know that people find aliens hot. Actually, I went to Star Wars Burlesque last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Apparently there are all these burlesque shows that I need to go to.
Yeah. I'm telling you all about them. No, I went to this, I was brought with a friend to see Star Wars Burlesque, and they go every single year that it comes, literally. And I remember my partner, Nico, who you know is like the opposite of a nerd.
Yep.
So while we're sitting there with Princess Leia, like stripping it off, and R2-D2 was like going around in a circles raining money on her, like, it was the funniest thing. Like R2-D2 was just like doing a 360, like Cash is raining it down. Oh my god, wonderful. And then there was like an alien love scene between these two incredible dancers, and at first I'm like, you know, they've got tentacles coming out of their heads and everything, and I'm like, yeah, aliens. But then by the end of things, again, it's kind of like my Betty Bombshell scenario. I'm feeling things. But you know, that's how kinks can kind of catch on. You can see something one time, and because you're aroused, it
sticks
locks.
with you. Yeah.
Haven't looked up alien porn yet, but I'm gonna say.
There's no day like today, Esmé.
No day like today. So alien sex still off the table. We don't know. I really like this, and I would love to hear just this on the podcast. But someone comment rather than a question. I love it when Kirsten shares about how Australian First Nations interpreted the stars, which was the topic of your TED Talk, right?
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell me about it?
Oh, there's so much to tell.
There's so much to tell.
So much to tell. 65,000 plus years of history. Again, so much culture and so much like depth to the information and observations that Aboriginal peoples have seen and used throughout this time. I mean, from knowing when is the right time to go looking for certain foods, to knowing when the seasons are changing, even to indicate when certain ceremonies should happen when a planet is in a particular spot. Like, it is so incredible to see how much knowledge there is in this land that we now call Australia.
I love that. I mean, like, talking about history, the oldest culture on Earth, First Nations Australia.
And we're still here.
Yeah.
Longest continuous living culture in the world.
60,000 years or something along
Yeah,
those lines?
it's even getting close to like 85,000 years with different like evidences that they're finding up in the Pilbara, for example. It just keeps getting bigger. It's awesome.
That's incredible. And all coming back to the stars.
All coming back to stars, that's right. The night sky is like the canvas for our stories and our lessons that we learn.
I love this, Kirsten. It has been an absolute privilege to have you on this podcast. I mean, we have discussed everything from Jupiter's concubines to R2-D2 making it rain on burlesque performers. This has been a wild, informative, and just frankly incredible chat. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been so much fun.
Who knew kink, history, and space facts had so much in common? But they are a gorgeous planetary alignment, just like this friendship. Well, we have to have you back on sometime soon. But thank you so much for being here today.
Always a pleasure.
And thank everyone here for listening in and enjoying this absolute orgasm climax of education and alien spunky mess that we've had today. And if you want more kinky history, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And Kirsten, where can everyone go to find you if they want to hear plenty more of your AstroKirsten space facts?
That's it. You can come to me at AstroKirsten on all the social medias, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter as well. We'll see how long that lasts.
Talking about space, how are you going, Elon Musk?
Yeah. But I have some exciting news coming up soon, actually.
Yes, tell us.
Broadening my horizons and doing a little comedy show. So I'll be a part of a comedy science experience called The Steam Room.
Yes.
Which is going to be at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival on the 18th and 19th of April.
Woo.
We're going to be at the Enmore Theatre for the Sydney Comedy Festival on the 4th of May. Ultimate Nerd Day. I'm so excited.
Yes.
And then also the Brisbane Comedy Festival on the 11th of May as well.
Well, everyone's got a taster of just how funny you are today, so
I am
go
hilarious. Yeah.
right in. Well, I can't wait to be there. I've already got all my space facts, ready to go for your comedy festival, so I'm going to get all of it now. So get your tickets. And if you enjoyed our lesson today, then use this as your star sign to have a little rendezvous under the stars with your chosen lover or lovers. And once you're done and finished, just like Hera and her boob juice all over the Milky Way, I will see you next week on Kinky History.